The Great Depression struck in 1929 and lasted 10 years. It was a time of great loss and poverty for many Americans, and has served as an important lesson for the country and its economic ideals. The Great Depression was caused by many factors. Three main contributors to this depression were the effects of speculation, the business cycle, and the dangers of installment buying. Stock market experts, or speculators, had predicted that the stock market would only go up, and this had instilled a false confidence in the minds of the American people. Irving Fisher, an economist from Yale, wrote in the New York Times, "Stock prices have reached what looks like a permanently high plateau." Fisher was not the only person blinded by optimism. Many other experts were exclaiming the same message. After an early dip in the stock market prices, the president of the Equitable Trust Company himself claimed, "I have no fear of another comparable decline." With economists being as optimistic as they were, many ordinary people trusted America's economy. Thousands of adults began to invest into the stock market as bold claims from experts were widely accepted. Speculation, as advertised by experts, resulted in an intense boom that all came crashing down on a day known as Black Tuesday. This day would mark the beginning of America's Great Depression. Another factor of the Great Depression was the business cycle. This was a cycle of consumer and producer and supply and demand. In the years before the Great Depression, America had been involved in a war. During the war, there was an increased demand for food, clothing, supplies, and crops for the soldiers that were deployed. The lack of demand for products after the war forced people to sell their products for less money than what it was worth, making them lose profit. With the loss of profit, they could not afford to keep the extra help that they had hired previously when the demand for the product was high. In response, thousands of people were laid off and out of a job. It had been stated that between 1930 and 1939, U.S. unemployment averaged 18.2%. The cyclic nature of the economy made it hard for America to recover. Natural trends involve both dips and rises in the country's economic cycle, and with every exponential growth, such as the one that came just before 1929, there must be a crashing drop. The people who had been laid off could then not afford to pay off their property, and many had their land or homes taken away from them by the banks. The sudden increase in unemployment also meant that there was a decrease in consumers available to buy the company's products. This led to more companies losing money and having to lay off, again, more people. This was a damaging cycle that America found itself in 1929, and is part of what caused the Great Depression, where thousands of people lost their money, jobs, and homes. Installment buying can also be blamed for the Great Depression. Installment buying is when the buyer gains the use of a commodity immediately and then pays for it in periodic payments known as installments. During this time, the idea of keeping up with the Joneses came about. This saying meant that people wanted to stay on the same social and economic level as their neighbor. If a person's neighbor bought a new expensive household item, that person would also be expected to purchase one to show that they are able to keep up in society. This societal insecurity led many people to begin to purchase big items such as refrigerators or televisions, and then pay with installments. This trend boosted the country's economy, causing an increase of consumer demand, which led to more profit for the companies. However, the problem with this type of payment was that the people that used installment payments did not actually have the money to buy the products. When people could not keep up with the installments, families went into debt, with compounding interest stacking up. The rise of unemployment did little to aid their circumstances. Without a job, people were unable to meet their payments. This forced the banks to repossess many properties and land, but some people did not have anything of value to take, causing the banks to suffer the loss of the money that was lent. This payment method resulted in immense losses, including homes, cars, savings, and it even caused the banks to lose substantial amounts of money that they had previously depended on. The speculations made before the stock market crash caused the effects of the crash to be much more extensive. The trend of installment buying coupled with the dangerous business cycle resulted in many people being out of money and a job. All three factors aligned to create a depression of such great magnitude. This is an event that will live forever in the minds of Americans. Economists and lawmakers alike have studied to ensure that an event similar to the Great Depression will never reach that magnitude. There are now laws in place to prevent the potential for mass debt, such as limiting installment buying, a loan application process, and economic institutions such as the Federal Deposit Insurance Commission, or FDIC. The FDIC helps to prevent bank failure and maintain stability and public confidence in the U.S. financial system. The FDIC was created in 1933 in response to the many bank failures during the Depression. The Commission insures deposits up to $250,000. This ensures that people who decide to keep their money at a bank will not lose it. Regulations and commissions such as these were created to prevent another crisis from occurring today.